Morning, you're welcome to Uganda Martyrs Museum. It is located in Namugongo. We're at the Anglican side. My name is Emily and I'll be our tour guide for the day. The museum was opened up in 2014, but the official opening was in 2015 with the visit of Pope Francis before he died. When you see at the gate, we have Namugongo 1760. So this site started as early as 1760 as an execution site, started by a king, the 25th king in Buganda called Charagu. He used this site for executing his enemies. Therefore, in the old days, we had a lot of enemies in the kingdoms of Uganda. Uganda had acquired many enemies because this king encroached on his neighbor's land. So he started a site where anyone that he would consider an enemy would be taken and executed. So as time went on, many kings used this site. For example, King Mutesa I killed the Muslims from this site. Then later on, King Mwanga II also used this site to kill the Christians. However, we've said the site is called Uganda Martyrs Museum, and therefore our tour is going to be about the Uganda Martyrs, because this site was opened up after the martyrs were killed here. The vision bearer of the site is called the late Dr. Livingstone Palanikoyoyo. He was a bishop of Mukono Diocese and an archbishop. However, he died in 2018. So we have his photo, his portrait inside here. So it would be very unfair to say that this is an Anglican site from its name and we judge that only Anglicans are welcome here. No, the site welcomes all the religions, be it Catholics, be it Anglicans or Muslims, all the religions are welcome here. We just want to make sure that when you are looking for the location, you do not get lost, because when you're in Namugongo, we have two big churches. We have the Catholic Church and the Anglican side. So you'll have to specify that I'm going in Namugongo, but the Catholic Church or the Anglican Church. So this site has been visited by 3 popes from 1969. Today, when you look at the schools that have been opened up in the name of the saints or the legacy of the martyrs, we have St. Kizito, St. Andrew, St. Charles, among others, because today the martyrs are saints and they were declared saints by the first pope that visited this site in 1969. He was called Pope Paul VI. The second pope visited in 1993. He was called Pope John Paul II. And the last pope that visited in 2015, and that was Pope Francis, when we officially announced that this is a Uganda Martyrs Museum. The structure of the site represents the traditional aspect, because initially this was a traditional place used by the Baganda kings, like we explained, for executing people. So today, if you visit the Masiro tombs, this is how they look like. They were constructed using sticks we call reeds. These are traditional sticks which were used for construction of palaces, but also the ancient people, before they got electricity, used these sticks for light. Therefore, these sticks burn fast. Now, in the process of executing the people we are going to see, these people were burnt. The martyrs were just burnt, and they would drop them into the reeds and put them onto fire. So when you see the walls here, they are in designs of reeds, and the ceiling has actual reeds, because we want to represent the traditional aspect, but most importantly, we want to talk about the fact that the martyrs were burnt to ash. The other things that occupy the lounge, we have the furniture, the seats we have here, the reception, the rails. We shall include the doors, the windows. All these things are wooden, because these things were carved from the trees that occupied this execution site. Therefore, in the old days, this execution site was entirely a forest. It was called Chasanku, which in English means splitting firewood. Therefore, the martyrs were killed inside a forest. We also have designs of chains going around the windows and the doors, because these people were prisoners. They would tie them with chains to drag them to arrive to the execution site. The site is located in a place called Namugongo. Namugongo is a Luganda phrase to mean with the back, but initially it was called Chasanku. How does this name change from Kyasanku to Namugongo? The martyrs that were coming here were brought from a distance. They came from Munyonyo, where the king's palace was located. The king at the time was called Kabaka Mwanga II. He stayed in Munyonyo. But when he gave the order, these people had to be taken to the execution site. But they were prisoners. They were not given food, not even water. They were beaten on their way. And when they failed to walk, the soldiers were ordered to tie them with chains and drag them on their backs. And by the time they reached the nearest trading center, which is Chaliwajala, people were wondering, why do they have bruises on their back? And the ones that saw them coming were told that those people have bruises on their back because they were dragged to arrive in Namugongo. In Uganda, Rachiba inama bakumigongo. They were told Baze batambula Namugongo. And that is how the site changed its name from Kyasanku to Namugongo. This museum is organized in a sequence, and the spots in here tell a story. Now, we've heard about different places in Uganda where there are other martyrs, but this particular site has only 25 martyrs. Now, where you see the Catholic shrine, there is one martyr. He's called Charles Ranga. Then, this one has 25 martyrs. The 25 include 13 Anglicans and 12 Catholics. So where we have started from, there are some names that are illustrated. These are the names of the 25 martyrs that were killed from here on 3rd June 1886. And therefore the martyrs that you do not see here, it means they did not die from this side. They died in any other place that you've heard about where we have martyrs. The different places include Munyonyo, Mityana, Busega, Namungona, and many others. This was an office for the chief executioner. Now, amongst these people, there is one that has a leopard skin on his head and he's holding a calabash. He's in different spots. Where we have started from, he is the man seated in the middle. That was the leader. While the king gave the order, someone was here to receive the order, and that was Chief Mukajanga. And when we are teaching children at school, they are asked usually who was the chief executioner. So the chief executioner of the Uganda Martyrs was called Chief Mukajanga. Now,
that is the guy.
Yes, the one seated in the middle.
Okay.
Now, when you look at the dress code of the people here, they are putting on back cloth. The tools they are having, they have pangas, arrows, spears, and we also mentioned that this was entirely a forest. Now, these people were hunters, and their occupation as hunters, that is what they would do when they were not doing the work of the king to execute people. Therefore, the work of executing people was very easy for them because naturally they were hunters and killing was easy for them. But they also had a small god called Dungu. That's the god for hunters in Buganda. Therefore, if they received an order that they are killing people for worshipping God, they knew that their God was the valid God, and that's why they were very okay with killing these people for that. From that meeting, we have a preparation site. So the soldiers moved out, started sharpening their pangas, sharpening their knives, arrows, And because they knew that after this entire process they were going to burn the bodies of the martyrs, someone was tasked to collect firewood. So that's a firewood store behind us. At the beginning we mentioned that initially this place was called Chasanku, but today it is called Namugongo. So Namugongo is illustrated here. Why the place is called Namugongo is the illustration here. Arriving here, the martyrs were kept in prison while the soldiers had an emergency meeting to discuss how to treat them. These people had arrived here and they were in the prison for about 4 to 5 days. So this here is the prison where they were kept. And the traditional prisons, we had no handcuffs. We used the heavy locks that you see on their feet. We also used ropes going through their hands and their necks. Now one would wonder, why would the chief executioner take all this time yet he was going to eventually kill these people? Now amongst the prisoners that were brought here, the chief executioner had a nephew. There is a martyr called Mbaga Tuzinde. That is a nephew to the chief executioner, and when he arrived to see the prisoners, he was heartbroken to notice that his nephew was among us. So these days that he gave these people while they were in the prison, these days were for him trying to bargain and convince his nephew to denounce Christianity. But when he refused, it is alleged that he killed him first and put him onto fire to save him from the lengthy process of torturing and then finally burn him. So we also had a torturing chamber in this area. So the tree that we see was their torturing chamber. Being a forest, these people picked out the biggest tree. It was a muvule tree. This is where they brought the martyrs and tortured them. So this is the original tree.
Hello, I'm Precious, another tour guide. I'll be taking over where Emily has ended. And she left us here at the torture tree. Well, as I don't know if she said it, but this is the Mivule tree, and it acted as some sort of torture chamber for these people who are brought here to Namugongo to be martyred. There are a lot of, it was quite, it has a name. It's called Dazabazade, which talks about the significance of this tree and what it meant to the people who were here. And a lot of stuff used to go on here, as you can see depicted by these sculptures. Most of these people were beaten to death, clubbed to death. For example, one of the only female martyrs, Princess Nalumansi Catherine Kalala, clubbed to death. Others were tied and forced to witness the gruesome scenes that were going on, and that in itself was torture. All this supervised by the man himself at the center of it all. And as we're going to see, even the young martyr, Saint Chizito, that has become an inspiration for most young believers, was tortured here and killed here. Some people here were hanged, they were chopped, a lot of stuff was really going on this tree that speaks to its name, that speaks to what this tree, it's here, the name is here, Ndazabazade, the torture tree, as you can see. Yeah, imagine what these people probably were thinking at the moment, being brutally murdered by fellow human beings, all because of something they believed in and standing for what. And this is what basically this whole experience teaches us: standing for what you believe in and standing for what your faith and everything else that you think is right and good. Yeah. Kabaka Mwanga witnessed this burning himself, and he expected these martyrs to cry, as people who are burning. But it is said that when they were being burnt, they, instead of crying tears, they started singing hymns. And people, there are sayings that Mother Mary herself appeared at this very site. They are singing hymns, weirdly not in the language of Uganda. They are singing in another tongue, in another heavenly tongue, which made the whole experience more ethereal and very divine, depicting the presence of God. There was a specific martyr who was put aside to witness. Apparently, Mwanga was planning to pardon him, to witness the whole experience. He put him aside, but when the martyr saw this, when he saw what was going on, he himself asked to be put in the fire, to be burnt with his fellow believers. And it is said that this experience only was enough to show that their ascension from being normal human beings to being the saints that we believe of them today. One of my favorite pieces in this is, if you can look at the ceiling, it's a depiction of the angels carrying their souls to the heavens, and their ascension, and them leaving the mortal realm and becoming more than human beings.
Now, this is the final spot. It shows the soldiers burning the bodies of these people. But at the same spot, you see that their swords have blood, their hands have blood from the whole torturing. And they had guilt. They were feeling guilty because killing is a sin either way, even if you are taking an order. Now, for them to do away with the guilt they were feeling, they went to a well, washed their swords, washed their hands, and they had a belief that this well is washing away what they have done, the act of killing the martyrs. And that is how they lived on until they became Christians. Therefore, today we have a symbol of holy water, and it is the well. For us who are here today, we believe that the blood of the martyrs has cleansed the water, and it is holy water. That is why we are calling it holy water. When you see people after celebrating 3rd June, they carry jerrycans of water, bottles of water. Those people have fetched water from that well. So when you visit the Catholic Church, there's also a symbol of holy water, which is a man-made lake. So here we shall go and see the original well.
Man, the place feels like it's still burning until now.
Here we can see the different bishops that have been in place in this country. It started out Reverend Alfred Tucker from 1899 to 1908, Reverend John Willis, 1912-1934, Leslie Brown, 1953-1960, then the first black one, the first African, the first Ugandan, Mr. Dunstan in Subuga, 1960-1985, then Mr. Kauma, Reverend Kauma, 1985-1994, then Reverend Samuel Sekade, 1994-2009, then Wilberforce. Wait, this is not recent, but this is Wilberforce Chichi Lualida. Yes, then we have Leslie Brown, all these others. There's this Mr. Reverend Janan Luwum, who was actually killed by Idi Amin, celebrated on, is it 16th? Yeah, was killed by Idi Amin. Up to the recent ones, Bishop Stanley Ntagali, Luke Orombi, yes. There's this sculpture here that depicts the different totems in the Uganda kingdom. We have Pologoma, Nchima, Mamba, yes, and others. I was asked about the relevance and why is this here. Well, Uganda is the center stage at which everything happens. All this stuff is happening in the kingdom of Uganda. All this is of a very huge significance in Uganda, so it only makes sense that we also pay tribute to that part of the story. Yes, and
okay, so you say these are totems, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
And in the same spirit, here we have the different kings of Uganda. Kabaka Mutesa I, who invites the missionaries, as we all remember from our primary school studies, with a letter that was later on published in the newspapers in London that called on the different missionaries, Mapera, Mackay, and all that stuff. Then we have Mwanga too. We have Daud Kabaka. He's the one who ordered for the murdering of the missionaries, the martyrs. Sorry. Then we have Kabaka Daudi Chwa, the youngest king, who became king at the age of only 1. Then we have the first president of this beloved country of Uganda, Sir Edward Mutesa too. Then we have the recent reigning king, Kabaka Ronald Mutebi. Yes.
When I'm teaching the children, I let them know that Mukajanga was not entirely bad. Today we are told to obey our leaders. So Mukajanga was obeying the king, and the order was to execute the martyrs. Therefore, he was an obedient servant. The religion did not phase out after the killing of the martyrs. People just increased to be more and more Christians. That we see, eventually we got churches. For example, in 1890, we got Namugongo Cathedral, and later on in 1892, we got Lubaga Cathedral. These churches are for the Anglicans and the Catholics respectively. So after the killing of the martyrs, there's a man that came and collected the ashes. He was called the late Teferi Sosonkole. He collected the ashes and buried them somewhere. So the sanctuary of this church is the burial ground for the 25 martyrs. That cream thing that we see, that's the burial ground for the 25 martyrs. And in the eyes of the king, he expected Christianity to phase out after killing the Christians. Unknown to him is he just fueled the spirit of Christianity amongst the people that were left behind, because they started praying from this burial ground, believing that this is a holy ground, as they had buried holy people here. As numbers increased, the prime minister decided to build a roof over the burial ground, and this became the very first church in Namugongo. So as small as it looks, it would accommodate the Christians at the time. So this became the first church in Namugongo, and this is where I would pray from, not until the Catholics decided to build their church the other side. So this would gather both Catholics and Anglicans. This church has also been visited by the 3 popes we talked about, and the cross we have in the middle is a gift to the Uganda Martyrs from Pope Francis. So when you look at the pulpit is marked that it was donated in 1950 by Kabaka Mutesa II, and therefore it has been here from 1950. And then these seats are marked. They were brought here in 1938, and therefore they have been here from 1938. Same applies to the other seats we have in the church. These are the very first things in the church. So this church was put here in 1935, and in 2025 it makes 90 years of existence.
Why does this Alexander Mackay guy feature here?
So we have Alexander Mackay because he was among the first group of missionaries to come to Uganda. So we have Alexander Mackay here, and then you have Simon Lord of Mopel, or the one we call Mapera, here.
And by the okay, maybe when you're done, you help me understand why the name Mapera, because I don't think that was his original name.
It was called Mopel.
Mopel.
But the Baganda failed to pronounce the name, and they named him Mapera.
Hey, okay. Okay, I get it.
Then the one in the middle is Chivebulaya. That's the first African missionary. So the artists wanted to put the missionaries together. All the ones are missionaries. The difference is that this one is the first African missionary.
Okay. So why African missionary? What do you mean? He went to Europe or somewhere?
Yes, he went to Britain.
To do what?
To learn the religion, because the religion was new at that time. So he first traveled abroad, learned the religion, and he came back. So people that saw him named him Chivebulaya, because when people come here today, you say that Movabulaya because you're from abroad. So you see that his name is Apollo Chivebulaya because he had traveled abroad, Ebulaya, he learned the religion, and when he came back, he started moving to spread the gospel.
Okay, I get it. Then this guy, Tefero Sekuma Chisosonkole.
So from that church, we saw where the ashes of the martyrs were buried. The person that buried the ashes of the martyrs was called Teferi Sekuma Chisosonkole. He was also a prime minister by then. All right.
David, Dr. Livingstone Mpala Nyinkoyo, at least I remember this one. Was the Archbishop, right? Yeah. Tell us about why people have to walk. Okay. Even those that can actually afford the means of transport coming to this site, most of the times we see them on the streets just walking. Like, what does that symbolize?
So the culture of people walking while they are coming to celebrate the martyrs. Now the martyrs in the old days had to walk going to the execution site because where they lived was far from here. They lived in Monyonyo where the Kabaka's palace was. But when they were given an order to denounce Christianity and they failed to obey it, they were handed over to the soldiers who had to bring them to the execution site. But we had no cars and they had to walk as prisoners. So today for us we are walking to imitate the walking of the martyrs in the old days.
I got you. And are there those that imitate the actual burning?
No, we do not have people imitating the actual burning.
Okay.
However, today those people are walking barefoot, they are moving long distances because people coming from Kenya, Tanzania, Western Uganda, Eastern Uganda, Northern Uganda, those are really distances for people to move today.
All right. Thank you very much. So what are we moving on to next?
The well.
The well.
Yes.
All right. Please come with us to the well.
So we are here at the lake, at the site where the soldiers used to come and wash their weapons after the execution. This is where they were all covered in blood and stains. So this is the place they used to come to wash their weapons and wash themselves, as they believed it would also wash away some of the guilt, as the guilt they had as they killed the martyrs. Yes. So this is where the holy water is. Yes, though people usually fetch it from the other side, because when the service is going on here, the intention is not to have people here distracting the main people who are watching or who are paying attention to the service. So there's a provision over the other side, which we shall be seeing, where the people fetch the holy water from. Yeah, so the water, there's a filtration system that leads here. This is the water that people come fetching, the holy water that people fetch every Martyrs Day or every other day, I don't really know. It's right here. This is where these are the outlets. Yeah.
All right. So ladies and gentlemen, now that I'm on holy ground, you see this is the place where holy water is collected when pilgrims, not martyrs, when pilgrims come, to pay tribute to the fallen martyrs. So since I'm on holy ground, please allow me wash my hands and my face with some holy water. I feel holy already. All right, so that has been the tour of the Martyr Shrine, the Anglican Shrine in Namugongo. I hope you learned a thing or two. Remember, there's also a Catholic shrine that we'll visit sometime. Today we're only at the Anglican. Initially, I don't know, for some reason I thought they were all in one place. I only discovered that yesterday, But it has been great learning about the martyrs, how they were killed, why they were killed, and that entire process. And most importantly, washing my face with some holy water. Wasn't that amazing? So I feel fresh already. and I hope to keep this freshness for the longest for the longest time. All right, so thanks for watching. We have a lot of stuff in store for you. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share, and keep visiting G Styles. All right, so thank you for watching and see you on the next one. Cheng 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 cheng.